So we are now live on the Mesmerise podcast. With us tonight, we have Chris Bone of the band Forged in Black. How you doing, Chris?
I'm good, thank you. How are you, Danny?
I'm good. Lockdown, and I've actually been outside a lot, which has been nice. Take photos and
Yeah, we have to try to because we have to try to keep active, especially with the way the world is right now. Keep yourself sane.
exactly. So, yeah, I've known you for a while. I've been actually trying to get Fortune Black on one of my podcasts for a while now, so it's been quite nice. Been like, oh, cool, I've got Fortune Black on here now. It's awesome. Yeah, so tell us a little bit about Fortune Black for people that don't know Fortune Black.
Okay. Well, Forged in Black, we're a heavy metal band from not so sunny Southend-on-Sea in Essex, where you're from as well. And we I suppose we've been going probably for about 10 or 11 years now. We had actually our 10-year anniversary, I think, yeah, about a year ago, so 11. And we try to mix a bit of thrash and doom and all those kind of old school genres, but with like a modern production, some growl sections, and kind of just bring it into the modern era, I suppose. We've been compared to some bands like Candlemass before, and with our singer Stoz, Judas Priest, and some people even say King Diamond, where he does some high falsetto screams as well. But
I can
yeah,
see
that's pretty
that.
much it.
Yeah,
Yeah, we get it. We get it a bit, although I'd say he's a little bit more on the Halford side of
yeah,
things rather than being like King Diamond esque. But each to their own.
yeah. Because I followed you guys for a while now, and yeah, I would definitely agree with that. I'd say you guys are probably quite like you have quite a lot of American thrash like 80s uh, Bay Area sort of thrash metal mixed in with like a British edge to it with the harmonies and things. So I feel like the American thrash metal bands, when they do harmonies, they're quite subtle, while British bands I find are quite like, look at us, we've got harmony. Listen, this is like the forefront of the song. So
Yeah, sound a bit more like Iron Maiden, I suppose. We not not so much thrash in that way, but just melodies very much the forefront a lot of the time. Yeah, we do mix it up a bit. We try to. We've got a lot of different influences in the band, so I suppose you have like a different everyone's styles kind of dripping in to what makes the I suppose the musical broth at the end.
exactly, and that's always the best. That's always the greatest thing with bands, isn't it? Like you may like something, then you start collaborating with different people. Everyone likes their own thing. It's like it just mixes together. It's weird how it works, but it does.
Yeah. I think if it's I think it's quite amazing sometimes, even in ways that the first song I ever wrote for Forged in Black. I've not actually been in, for people who don't know, the whole time. I'm the newest member, but I've been in for probably about 4 or 5 years now.
Didn't you have the
Um,
anniversary quite recently, saying that you've been in the band for
yeah,
5 years?
yeah, I think that was it. And I was surprised. Time really does fly. It really don't feel like that long. But yeah, the first song I ever wrote for the band was a song called Sinner Sanctorum. And when I wrote that, well, all the main riffs before taking it to the band, I felt that it had almost like a bit of a melodic death metal vibe to it, and I weren't sure if it was going to be a Forged in Black's thing. But once you get Stozzy singing on it, everyone puts their little flares on their parts, um, and the drums get changed. It becomes a Forged in Black song.
That's always the interesting thing that I found about songwriting. It's you're having like if you start writing a song, you've got the idea there. You might have structure, you might have a riff, and you know where this comes from. You know the exact source. You know where it's what your mood was. You know what you've been listening to at the time, so on. So you know exactly what those influences are. So immediately you have the thought, this sounds a lot like this. But then you give it up to other people to work on, ergo band members, and you get the whole everyone puts in their own thing. It's like, oh, okay, this is much different than I thought than I originally came up with. Really,
Yeah, definitely. It's like I've even had I'm compared to the rest of the band, I'm probably into the most heavy stuff. I like a lot of black metal and death metal and stuff like that. And on some of the rhythm sections in the past, I like to do it where rather than just playing the power chord, it might start that way on the tab when we write it out. But then I'll end up I like hitting a lot of open strings and ringing out sometimes, a little bit like from some black metal songs. But it works. You just throw it in enough that it's not changing it too much, but you have a little bit of a flair.
you have that little variation that just adds a little bit extra to it, having that little
Exactly. Yeah.
sprinkle.
And that's one thing that we try to. Well, we do a lot. Sometimes that's probably, well, with our songs, I think sometimes the difficulty in it can be remembering all the different variations. Like our other guitarist Andy, he likes to make it so if the riff's played multiple times, every single time it's slightly different harmony, or you're switching harmonies, and it means that even though it might sound similar as a guitar part, you have to remember 4 different variations, always just changing that slightly enough that maybe the listener doesn't even notice it, but we do.
Because but that creates that movement, that creates a dynamic in the song, which I find is absolutely fantastic. When you listen to a lot of the bigger bands, it sounds like they're playing the same thing, but you're like, oh, actually, no, they're playing something different. It just sounds very similar.
Yeah, it's like when learning some songs in the past. I don't know, you might something like Children of Bodom say, you'll hear the one part and you'll be like, oh, that sounds like I'm playing the same part again, and you start going to play it along, and you go, actually, now there's some clashing notes, and you look over and it's actually they've changed certain parts of it just slightly, or reversed bits. And it definitely does create some extra movement, as you say.
Yeah, because I've noticed this quite a lot since I've been playing Rocksmith. Like Sabaton have that quite a lot. They do a lot of switches between like going from a power chord to, I just call it an inverted power chord. You know, where you go from like 5/7 power chord, then you just switch it and it's just reverse. It's like, oh, okay, then sound similar.
Also, like 7/5 instead.
Yeah, so it's just like literally just mirrors it.
Yeah, I quite like those chords because they do sound a little bit dissonant, and they give if you put them in the right place, it can create a bit of tension. Or yeah, they're not always the best maybe to end on, like to create a satisfying finale. But if you put them in just here and there, it can create that extra just a bit of tension in there before release onto the next note.
Exactly, without it being constantly like, oh, I'm just playing the same 3 chords. It sounds like it, but it creates movement.
Exactly. Yeah, definitely. And you've got to keep people on their toes if they're trying to learn new music. Make it hard for them.
Exactly. So, a question I did have, because there's a pattern I've noticed that you guys have gone from. You've gone from, for a few years, you guys have been releasing EPs, and recently you guys have been releasing albums. One of them being the Serpent record. So I barely finished that sentence. Tell us why did you guys go from EPs to album exactly?
Well, when I joined the band, they'd just finished. We were recording with Chris Tangerides, who's well known for bands like King Diamond, and I think he did Anvil as well, and quite a lot of others if you looked them up. But they, I think the guys at the time thought they would go for to have more output coming out all the time and new songs that they could play on the live set, because they're very much a live band constantly playing. They would do smaller, more frequent releases. But then we decided, well, because we're in the process of going for looking for a label. to sign the next record. It's a lot easier to push and I suppose sell and market an album, and also you can get your teeth into it a lot more and really elaborate on a lot more of the ideas and make just have a really varied collection of work. So we went for the album instead, and we're pretty much gonna stick with that now. So we're looking at doing our next album, a next release as an album as well, as a follow up to Descent of the Serpent.
Okay, do you guys find that going from the EP to the album format allows you to explore a greater narrative?
Yeah, I'd say so. It gives you more freedom to say, for instance, on an EP, you've got to be very. You've only got 4 or 5 songs to deal with, so you maybe don't want to. It might keep you in a little bit more of a.
It's like a time-conscious bubble.
That, and also with the album, say, for instance, we had so many songs that we can do. We did one which was written to be, which is Seek No Evil, which is a music video for those who want to check it out on YouTube. We wrote that to be very much like a straight-in single type song, just straight in.
And it came out quite well, to be honest.
Throughout. Yeah, we were really pleased with that. And actually, funny thing is that one, we wrote that in one evening. It came together very organically, very quickly. Just all of us sat around at our drummer's house at the time. But we have another song, say Palm Silver, which we did another video for. But that one started off very out of the box from maybe what we would usually do. And if you had an EP, we had 4 songs, you might not be as inclined to put something on that's quite out there and quite a bit more experimental for you. But it worked perfectly with the album. It keeps things interesting, and you can keep changing it up and kind of explore more ideas.
Okay. Did you guys find it harder or easier writing for an album rather than an EP, or was there like no difference at all for you guys?
The writing process hasn't changed much at all. Pretty much the same. But we, I think it does maybe make us a little bit more conscious of. Okay, we have a song that has this. We've already done a section like this, or we haven't done a clean section yet, so let's try and do a clean section. Or you're kind of thinking a little bit more of what you have done already and what might keep
like
things
what can you
interesting
do differently than what you've already done throughout the entire process at that point.
Yeah, so if you started 2 songs maybe with a classical intro or a doom intro, then you might get to the 3rd one and be like, let's go in full thrash to start with, to make things a little bit more interesting. So it's probably only from that aspect. You're just trying to think of what will be interesting and work with the other songs.
Oh yeah, for definite. Because with an album, you need to be conscious of how do the songs all gel together. How many songs do you want to be different from the last, and so on. Which is definitely something that I wouldn't say struggled with. We essentially had something like 12 songs ready, and we're like, this doesn't quite work as an album. What if we do it as an EP instead?
Yeah, that's fair enough. As you say, like, you kind of you have to think about kind of how you're gonna put it all together and what will work best.
Exactly. Like, sorry, you go ahead, mate.
No, go for it.
I was just going to say, different things work for different people, of course. As you know yourself with music, it's all subjective. Everyone works completely differently from one another. One tool might work for one person, one tool might not work for another.
Yeah, precisely. It's I don't know. It's a weird one. I think there is some thought that goes into it, but then at other times you do just kind of you write what comes to you naturally on that night, don't you?
Oh yeah, for definite. That's awesome. With that, what I quite liked about the See No Evil record was very much what Chris does in the choruses. Whereas like, he normally does his quite operatic singing, "See no evil," and then
Yeah,
at the end he goes full on Rob Halford, it's like "No evil." It's
yeah,
great.
exactly. It's yeah, that was a really fun song to do, and yeah, that's what, and the process of recording it was amazing as well. We had a lot of fun doing that.
Yeah,
And we'll be
because you guys work with quite a renowned producer at that point as well, Ramesh. I really hope I'm getting his last name wrong. If I'm butchering it, I'm
I'll let
so
you try
sorry.
and I'll correct you.
Dodden Goda.
Yeah, Doden Goda.
Almost.
Yeah,
Uh, I'm very sorry for anyone that's upset by that. I tried.
yeah, and yeah, he's a brilliant producer. The band had already used him once for a song called "The Exodus" years ago, and that was before going to Chris Sangarides. And actually, I butchered his name there. It's a
Someone's
shame.
offended on his behalf. Someone's offended for Ramesh. I'm sorry. I've tried.
But yeah, he's amazing, and literally he's worked with loads of really good artists. Like he worked with Phil Campbell and the Bastard Sons, and I think he's done like I think he did Silosis, Kids in Glass Houses, if I remember right. He also worked on the new Bring Me the Horizon album.
Yeah, the
After
album.
Mars. Yeah, when we were recording with him, he said after he recorded us, he had to go out to LA, and we tried to press him for who he was gonna record, but he wouldn't give anything away.
Oh yeah, that was
Eventually, we found
for
out.
Ammo, wasn't? Yeah, it was Ammo, the pop record they did.
Yeah, I
So
don't know the name of it. I'm not really a fan, but myself. But yeah, it was the new Bring Me to the Horizon, and I can understand him doing a poppy kind of album. He's got a very tight sound, and he's got an amazing drum sound as well. He always uses live drums, but I think he does them in such a tight way that quite a lot of kind of more poppy bands will go for him as well as the more heavy bands as well.
it was an interesting. I'm sure it was quite an interesting record for him to do as well. A little bit different than what he does on the usual basis. Because I think he did actually do a record um, with Motorhead, didn't he? Because I checked him out once when
Oh,
you mentioned him to me. I was like, oh, I'll check him out. I was like, oh, damn.
oh, is yeah, I'm trying to remember. Yeah, he did some of them. I struggle to remember all the things he's done. He's done a lot of awesome work, but yeah, we'll be returning with to record with him again this year. So it's yeah, looking forward to it. It'll be good.
That's awesome. Oh, there we go. Albums produced by Romish. No, I don't think. Nah, they're not all on there. I hate Wikipedia. I love Wikipedia and I hate it at the same time.
You
Because
kind of, I think, probably best going on his website. I think he's got like a Weebly site or something. If you go on Google, Ramesh Doden Goda,
yeah, like
it'll
I'm always
come up.
cautious when I go onto websites because like there's going to be sound playing and then it's going to be recording. Then it's like
Oh,
let's
right, yeah,
see.
yeah, and
No,
then they'll look for some oh, what do you call it? Some money off of you.
yeah, because he's got yeah, Bring Me the Horizon, Decade, Icon for Hire, Hoarding Absence, Trash Bro, Bring Me the Horizon, Phil Campbell, Funeral for a Friend, Trash Bro, yeah, Silosis, Fear the World, sorry, and yeah, we're not going to spend all day doing that. That's going to take us too long. But
Let's just spend the next hour just listing everything Ramesh has ever done. Somewhere near the very bottom, you've got Forged in Black. I don't know.
I'm sure that's on there somewhere. But for some reason, the website's taking forever to load for me. So I'm like, nah,
Oh
forget
no,
it.
that's
I'm
fine.
done. I'm done. But
We've listed enough. It's enough of a shout out.
sponsor me. I don't know who, but someone sponsor me.
Yeah,
But
anyone. And then
Ollie,
just get a really weird, like a really weird sponsor, like on a Capri Sun or something like that.
oh, that'd be great. Like Ollie Sykes
So
is
something
like
nothing music
vegan
related, just
Capri
completely
Sun.
off. But something not even music related. That's the thing that I think would make it great. Is if you just had random sponsors that had nothing to do with music.
Viagra, Rockstar, yeah, like Brett Michaels Viagra. There you go.
Yeah.
That would sell. I bet that would sell as well. Which is the worst part.
We had
But
some weird things out there. I remember Ghost did. They had condoms with Papa Emeritus's face on them, I think,
oh,
which was a bit
why?
nuts. Yeah, I don't know. You could get a pack of condoms, Ghost condoms, when I went to see him live one time.
But like, I don't think that wouldn't put me in the mood in any capacity. It's like, oh, look at that. Before I'm gonna get laid, I'm gonna look at this Scooby Doo villain.
Yeah.
I'm,
Well,
I'm, sh- I'm sure that's the
one
one
of my
that he's
friends,
heard the most.
one of my friends bought one of them, so there is a market for it. I don't think she was. Well, it was actually her, and she wasn't going to use them. They were more just for a quirky thing to display, I suppose.
And then you'll see that person who's like, oh, where did they go? I ain't telling you. Anyway,
Yeah,
yeah.
but,
Someone mentioned that Motorhead made dildos at one point.
oh, really?
Yeah, they did. I actually saw them in a shop in London at one point. That was funny.
What made them Motorhead? Was there
It
like
was literally just like
cast after the members of Motorhead?
I think apparently Ghost did one too. Someone says Orgasmatron. I don't know, but they were basically
Right.
just vibrators. You know, like the really standard ones with the like a little dial at the bottom. It basically just had the Motorhead logo on it.
Oh, right. Yeah. So yeah, probably I would prefer it if they went a little bit more all out with it
What, just
and
with
actually had
Lemmy's
like,
face?
yeah.
Oh, okay. Apparently the dildo was called Orgasmatron from Motorhead.
Oh, okay. Strong name. Strong name.
Very, very strong. Lots of balls, or lack of
Oh,
balls, so to speak.
yeah. Well, who knows? Maybe they had some attached.
Nothing. No sex toy amazes me. I've seen what a bad dragon looks like. They're horrifying.
Bad Dragon. What's that?
Yeah. Have you never seen a bad dragon? So they're these massive, massive. They they don't even look like sex toys. They
Right.
look more like something that comes out of a lava lamp,
Right.
and they're just huge. Like my arm is tiny in comparison. It's basically like
Right.
it's basically like your. I don't know, like they're probably the size of Corpse Grinder's neck.
Right. A lot of girth.
Lots of girth, but yeah, you got that, and I think they have like a model that you remember those little alien eggs you used to be able to get in corner shops? Them little toy
Oh,
alien.
in the 90s, and everyone thought that if you put them back to back, they'd make a baby.
Yeah, exactly those. So,
Yeah.
some bad dragon toys actually you can actually lay eggs like that. In someone, it's like
Okay.
why? Okay, not really my thing. I'm not here to kink shame, but why? Why do you want to?
I just
Why do
thought,
you want to pretend to be a chicken?
yeah, I just thought this is really. We've gone very. I feel like we've derailed very quickly, haven't we?
Oh yeah,
From music to sex toys.
honestly, I had a podcast with a Scottish band, and I think for a good 20 minutes we just talked about how hung Lemmy Kilmister may have been while he was still around.
Right. Okay. Um. Yeah, that's an interesting one. I was Yeah, I remember actually seeing I think a video clip online there is of his last show, and it's yeah, it's heartbreaking to see, really, just like how weak and frail he was in the end. But he still tried to play the show, but I think he had to cancel it. But yeah, right until the very end, he did what he loved.
Well, I think he died on his own terms, which I don't think he would have wanted to die any other way.
Yeah, definitely. He's very much he was unmistakably Lemmy, and that's why everyone loves him so much.
Exactly. Lemmy was fantastic. He had so much charisma.
Oh yeah, definitely in abundance. So I think I mean you're preparing to release music yourself, aren't you?
Yes, we're currently looking for a PR company to do it because
Okay.
we actually got the we got the EP mixed and mastered by Reza Udin from Inertia and used to be keyboardist in Killing Joke.
Hmm.
So it's come out really well. We're quite happy with it. It's definitely different than what I expected at first because you know when you write music, you go into recording, you have like a particular image in your head. I've kind of
Hmm.
just let it. I kind of just let everyone do what they needed to do without me
Hmm.
being like overcorrect. It's like, oh, do this, that, or anything of the sorts. And it's come out in a way that I didn't expect and that actually quite happy with. Yeah, so it's just
Okay,
really sorting out
that's
the
good.
PR. Really, I'm doing a few music. I'm doing a few music videos for it at the moment. Just getting down concepts first and then fully committing to parts. So that's
Hmm.
fun. That's always a fun process.
Well, I mean, before it was just you that was doing it, from what I remember. So yeah, it must be good to kind of get a bit of like a new perspective from different people, I suppose, as well. It takes a little bit of
Yeah.
pressure off you
Oh, it does.
because it's
The
yeah, it's
first
hard.
record that we did was very much me and David. David, our drummer. Now, though, it is very much more collaborative effort.
Hmm.
I'm not writing all the song. I'm not writing the songs from the ground up. Some songs are coming from other members, which is definitely a nice change of pace. But yeah, there's one song that we did. I think that's the second track on the EP, and it's an idea that Chris came up with. He sent it to me. I put guitars over it, then I rearranged it. Um, I put my parts down, did that, sent it across to Luke and David, got it back. We did all the recordings, sent it over to Chris, and then Chris did his bass parts, added more synths, and then changed the arrangement completely again. So I think the song
Oh,
itself went for
okay.
like four, maybe five different arrangements in its lifetime before we got to the final stage. And at first I was like,
Hmm.
that's not quite what I did, but I like it. I like how you rearranged it. I'm going to leave that.
Hmm. Yeah, well, it's I think that's the best thing. It's like what we usually do in Forged in Black is we often have it where um well, actually, this album that's coming up is a lot more collaborative from the start. We've pretty much written all the songs in the same room. Um, for the most part, there are some that Kieran, our bassist, wrote and Andy wrote, but a lot of time, say, Sinner, for example, Sinner Sanctorum, um, had pretty much different people writing 75% maybe of a song, bringing it to the band, and then having the final 25% done with the rest of the guys, or we change things up. Um, yeah, it's definitely good to get because when you're there in the room together, you can very much we can try three different ideas. Like we'll write three different riffs or three sections, and we'll decide all together at the time which one we think is the best way to go forward.
That, that's the thing that I find so interesting is everyone has such a different way of writing, which I absolutely love. I think the way yeah, like some people work really well in like bring a song into rehearsal or in like a meeting or so, and it's something I personally never quite got on with
Mm.
because I like
Yeah,
to be able. Sorry,
I'm like that as well. I'm all very much I'm not as good doing things in a rehearsal organically, maybe on the spot. I like to sit there. Um, if it's me writing a song on my own, usually I'll the way I'll work is I'll have like a project in Logic going, and I'll just jam out some riffs, and it might take me going around in circles just on my own, say 10 times, or just looping it and building it gradually. Whereas if you're in a band setting, you have to be very good at just kind of coming up with something straight away. I kind of need that spark, and sometimes it takes me a little while to find that. Our other guitarist though, Andy, he's very good at. He could sit there, just if anyone on here knows Guitar Pro or like tablature programs, he could sit there and literally write a song completely without touching a guitar. He could just go, "Oh yeah, I'm going to do this," and then play, and it's amazing.
Oh, I wish I was that good. I'm the only one in the band that actually taps the songs. So I'll have an idea,
Okay.
I'll tab it out, and then I'll send it to the guys, and then someone will make a change. Like, oh, Danny, can you tab that out? Oh, for fuck's sake! All right.
I
Okay.
can't tab shit. So I'm yeah, you're better than me there in that regard. I'll often give ideas either recorded or I'll show Andy, and then he'll capture it or on the tab program. He's like our scribe, I suppose, in a way.
He's your Steve Vai to Frank Zappa, which I think a lot of people
Yeah.
I'm going to know that connection. But yeah,
Yeah, is the
sorry, dude.
no, sorry, you continue.
Oh,
there's a slight audio delay, so sometimes I
uh,
start talking. And,
yeah, I was just going to say, for those that don't know, Steve Vai used to transpose songs for Frank Zappa while he was in college, before joining Frank Zappa's band, and then so on. Like 30 years of musical history afterwards. Don't go into, but I'm not going to because there's a limited amount of time.
yeah, well, Frank Zappa was an absolute beast writing songs, wasn't he? I don't know how many albums he has, but it's staggering,
It's
really
like
is.
40, 50. A lot of them were like live recordings. He never played anything same twice. From what
Yeah, he was amazing, a true mastermind.
it a true mastermind, but also quite ridiculous. Like I love Frank Zappa to bits. Like I'm a huge fan of his, but some of the things that he was doing was just ridiculous. Like I read his one of his autobiographies, and he explains how he signals how he wants the band to play certain songs. Like if he's
Mm.
like, oh, we're going to play this song, and then what he'll do is, as a signal, he'll grab his balls to have them play it in like a metal way. He will, if you want it done in like a, um, like a baroque sort of manner, he would do like a twirl and so on. So it's like all these little things that people in the band need to keep an eye out for. I thought it
Mm.
was like that. That's so brilliant, but so ridiculous at the same time. It's amazing.
I wish I remembered the name of the song, but I watched a video once of a guy taking apart one of the most difficult drum songs that he ever wrote. And I'm not a drummer, so I don't really understand all the different time signatures. It's weird. I can play in different time signatures, but I couldn't tell you how to count them as such. I just hear how it
That you can
and
write
the
it, but you can't
feel.
identify it by ear.
Yeah, I could vibe it and I can get it, but I can't count it out for you, say when the beat starts, things like that. But he was going through all of that and dissecting it, and the amount of different, this arm's doing this time signature, this arm's doing this time signature, the drum bass kicks doing this, and it's absolutely insane. I could not fathom how you can begin to do that.
Drummers are a special kind of breed. I think they're all you either have the really loud ones who really are just clever at heart, or you've got the ones that are quiet who you always wonder if they're psychopaths. Like how many bodies do they have buried in some kind of landlot where they grow their flowers and vegetables and things.
Yeah, I'm always wondering where our drummer Kev keeps his bodies.
Yeah,
All I know you go to open a cupboard or something like that, and just like corpses fall out.
I'd probably say more bits of
No,
corpses.
joking.
I'd like to think he's more one of those. If he was to dispose of bodies in any capacity, I'd like to think he tries to keep them quite neat. Like they all have their own categories, like fingers, hands, feet, and so on.
Yeah, it's like I know, almost like a filing system.
Exactly,
Like I
just
know,
an organised murderer.
A for arms, B for
bums,
I don't know,
something like that.
bum cheeks. I don't know. All the way until the miscellaneous section.
Exactly.
But no, not really. I mean, our drummer's a lovely guy. He's the nicest guy ever. He's got a mouth of steel, though. He does love his chilies. And one of the things with our band, with the, I suppose, initiation into the band is like, well, it doesn't matter, I suppose, if you actually do it or not. But everyone who's joined the band has had to do a ridiculously hot chili of sorts. Yeah, I think we'd like meet up, have a bit of a celebration, with and then they'd try this chili out, and yeah, it's eye-watering.
It's
An
like a ghost
eye-watering experience.
pepper or California Reaper and so on.
Yeah, you kind of feel that you have an out-of-body experience somewhat.
Oh yeah, I've had a raw ghost pepper, I believe, with Chris, because Chris is really into his spicy foods, and oh my god, I accidentally rubbed ghost pepper chilies into my eyes. That was not fun.
Oh
That was not a fun
no, that is not a good
experience.
move. Not a good move.
I kind of just
Cool.
begged for it to stop. I was like, no, please.
I was gonna say I might pop to the bathroom quick.
Yeah, no problem at all,
If
dude.
that's cool, man. I shouldn't be long. I'll yeah. See you in a sec.
Yeah. All right. See you in a sec, dude. Okay, there we go. Stop the video. Okay, so while he's taking a break, don't forget to check out the latest Fortune Black record, which is, I don't want to botch the name up. No, you don't all get to see what I'm listening to on Spotify, which is okay, because I want to get this right. Descent of the Serpent, which is the latest album that they've released. You can check them out on Spotify and all the other streaming. No, Ed, you will listen to them. They're your cup of tea anyway. I don't know what you're complaining about. You played a Rhapsody of Fire song, which is like 19 minutes long yesterday. Like, oh, I like it. Like, no, please stop playing it, Ed. You don't need to keep playing this song. I'm really glad that I missed all the black metal songs that you were playing yesterday. Because I need to stream now. Goodbye. Goodbye, everybody. They're always fun. Okay, let's see. What is... I always forget which chili is the hottest of the lot. Is it Ghost Pepper hot or is Carolina Reaper? Versus... Oh, there we go. That's like the first result on Google. So Ghost Pepper tips Scoville scale at 855k to just over 1 million, while Carolina Reaper is 1.4 mil to 2.2 mil. So yeah, I've got my answer for that then. Yeah, because I think I had a Ghost Pepper and Chris had a Carolina Reaper. Chris was on all fours, just losing any bodily fluids through his skin. I don't know if it was even sweat at that point, but it was horrifying to watch. So I've got a song stuck in my head now. I should have worn the t-shirt.
Okay, I'm back.
Okay, sweet. Is it me that does the... I think you need to... Yeah, you need to put the video... Oh, ask to start video. There
Let's
we
do
go.
it.
You should get a
Okay.
Notification.
Yeah, because I disabled it, but then you did.
Okay, cool. Double disabled. Yay. Do I get a
Yeah.
blue badge for that? I don't know if that
You
was in
get a
bad
gold.
taste.
You get a gold star next time I see you.
Yay.
Um.
I did actually see Andy the other day, funnily enough.
Okay. And yeah, we're about to see him. I suppose no one on stream will know.
Andy's the guy who did this lovely tattoo. And he's also the
Oh yeah.
guitarist in Fortune Black.
Oh yeah. So, apologies to anyone who's watching with my nose. I came down with a bit of a cold today, so yeah, fun. And
I did offer to reschedule, but you're coming through like a trooper, so big ups for that as
yeah,
well.
no, it's absolutely fine. It's one of those things. I'm armed with cold and flu tablets and what looks like piss in a bottle, or sorry, a glass, is a Caribbean Lucozade. So yeah, I'm doing all right though. It was yeah, it was fun though because I had to do my first COVID test today.
The nasal one, yeah.
Yeah, well, you can do it at the back of your mouth or nasal, but the woman in the pharmacy chemist said they all do it up the nose. So I thought, well, I'll just be a man and do the up the nose version, which is yeah, I wouldn't. Well, I'd recommend it. It has to be done, but it's not fun. No.
I know a few people who've had it done about 3 times now. I've been lucky. I've not had to have it done once.
Yeah, it's a first time for me, and that was just because I work in I'm still in work, and if you have a sore throat or your like nose is running or whatever, it's just courteous to everyone you work with, obviously, just to make sure that you haven't got the C word.
Someone just said in the stream that when they had the test done, they gagged like a bitch. That's because you are a bitch, Ed.
That's well, yeah, you have to do it. If I remember right, underneath your tonsils. So yeah, quite far in.
I'm so sensitive. My gag reflex is so awful. I know I wouldn't just gag.
Well, I had it where when I put it on my nose, it set me off, but I had to like sneezing and all that because you're kind of agitating it. So yeah, I ended up having to kind of do it once and then pause, have a bit of a sneeze, clear my nose out, and then try again. It's a nasty affair, but you know it has to be done.
Of course.
Obviously, we all got to do our part for the greater good. Which makes it sound a lot more. Which makes it sound a lot more epic than it is, but yeah.
Well, so you've just got a guy with a bell at the front of the test centre for the greater good, for the greater good. Do your part for the greater good.
Yeah, or it's like a scene from like 300 or something like that.
I don't know why it makes me think of like communist Russia for some reason. It's like for the party or something. But oh god, I just can't imagine. I know so many people who have had it done. I'm so glad I haven't had to yet. I hope I never have to get it done.
Are most of your viewers UK based or?
Most of them are. I think one of them's Danish, which we don't bully him too much for it.
Oh, okay. Well, greetings from the UK.
We did actually have someone from America as well. So yeah, but most people are from the UK. With this, I was going to ask, because you primarily play like V-shaped guitars, don't you?
I do now. I've never in the past, but I now have an endorsement with Solar Guitars, and yeah, they're awesome company. Anyone who's a guitar player, you probably know who Other England is and know his brand, but yeah, they brought out a V shape, and I was itching to try a V. So and Danny plays a solar as well. Oh well,
I
my
won't shut
V's
up
over
about
there.
them. So I'm
Yeah,
the person. Sorry.
my V's over there in the corner, just out of reach. But yeah, I've got a black one. A bit less exciting than yours. I do like the
Oh no,
red.
but it's good. A solo's a solo. Like solo guitars are fantastic.
Well, your one has an Evertune, doesn't it?
Yeah, both of mine do because
Yeah, which
I'm that asshole. Like I don't just have one solo guitar. I have two.
yeah, it's like, and are they both? No, they're not V's. One of them's a G shape, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like a Les Paul kind of shape. To be fair,
Yeah,
I am definitely that person who's like, solo guitars are the most best thing ever. I'm a bit of a kiss ass when it comes to solo guitars.
they are really good. And their artists were like it's his wife that deals with all the artist stuff, and she's very good as well to deal with. I've spoken with them both on email, and they're very friendly. Ola and his wife.
I did actually. I'm not sure if I told you this before. I did meet Ola one time. I've mentioned
Okay.
this many times on the podcast. People who listen to the podcast know this story inside and out. I met him at a Focusrite, like guitar clinic thing. Him and Saifu Ayers, who's like also a YouTube guitarist. So I
Oh,
went up.
I've seen him live. Yeah, he does instrumental music.
It's like
A
very
bit
anime
almost
based stuff.
very anime based. Yeah, yeah. I saw him at a show with come to me intervals.
Okay,
Another awesome guitar player. If anyone's not heard of him.
listen to them. Listen to all the music that you can. It's free
Yeah,
on
yeah,
Spotify anyway, so you might as well. You're not paying 20 quid per disc to listen to music anymore.
yeah. And especially Forged in Black. Make sure you listen to
Yes,
them.
you most certainly should.
uh,
But
yeah.
yeah, I met Ola quickly, and I didn't know what to say because I think I recently bought my Line 6 Helix at the time. I was like, "Oh, hey Ola." I was like, "Oh, hey everybody, hello dude. It's really nice to meet you." I don't know why I make him sound like Arnie, but
It's
it's like,
good. It's good you haven't got any Swedish viewers.
like, oh, it's really nice to meet you. It's like, oh, dude, so all I thought was like, oh, dude, I've watched your review of the Line 6 Helix. I bought one. Thank you so much, dude. I was like, oh, I'm so glad that you bought it. Thank you. I walked off. I'm thinking, oh, okay, you must be thinking, what a fucking dickhead.
No, he seems like a really nice guy. Well, yeah, I'm sure it is all right.
Oh, yeah.
He's probably
I
just
felt
happy
like a
that you.
dickhead, though. I definitely felt like a right dickhead.
It's hard meeting your heroes. But yeah, he seems like a good guy. I've not met loads of people, but well, trying to think now. One of my favorite guitar players is Per Nilsson. And I met him once. He was a very fun guy.
Sweet. Which band? Sorry? I'm
Per
really bad
Nilsson.
with names, generally.
Well, I am too, unless if it's someone I like. Well, not someone I like, but someone that you kind of nerd over. Because there's so many bands I couldn't name you all their names, but I love his guitar playing. And yeah, he plays in Scar Symmetry, and
Oh,
he
yeah.
also recently been playing with Meshuggah for a while, who are awesome. I really need to see him live sometime. I'm a bit gutted in a way. Well, it's good. He's no longer doing Meshuggah, and Frederick's back. But I would have liked to have seen them with Per Nilsson because he did his own little take on the solos, and I thought that was really cool. So I would have loved to have heard his solos with Meshuggah's music. It would have been cool.
That would have been really awesome. Do you know of a band called Freak Kitchen?
No, pass.
It's a Swedish band, 3-piece band. The guitarist is, I think, he's also the singer of the band. Very sort of
Okay.
old metally sort of stuff, and I'm going off from solo guitars a little bit, but he has a caparison. I always try not to call it caparison guitars, but like really expensive Japanese guitars.
Not oh, okay. I thought you might have meant Carillion.
But yeah, he has an 8-string guitar with a whammy bar on it.
Right. That's pretty nuts. I like that.
And I think, yeah, the guitar that he has is just battered to fuck. Because it's like, no, it's not going to last. Like, guitar like that is not going to last without breaking. So I think, like, the neck is, like, bent to, like, to no tomorrow. It's ridiculous. But it's one of those wonderful kind of, like, spinal tap instruments that you'll come across from time to time.
Yeah, I suppose a bit like Devin Townsend has this V that's massive, and it has like smoke machines built into it. It's ridiculous.
Framus, isn't it?
Yeah, Framus make him all sorts of weird and wonderful things. I played one before. They're amazing guitars, but expensive.
They're very expensive. I think, yeah, because they don't really do any like standard model, do they? They're like fully custom ones as well.
They do. Well, they have a Devin Townsend model, I know, but I don't really follow their guitars that much. But yeah, I think they are. I think mostly it's like quite high end or custom built.
I just saw ones like $2,500. I think that's like the small ones because I know Powerwolf are also endorsed with them.
Okay.
And it's like really lovely woodwork into it, like quite patterned, so on. I think there was an interview that I watched with Devin Townsend, and he even asked one of the guys at Framus, like, how much would it cost in retail to have the guitar that he has. They gave him the price. He's like, yeah, no, I couldn't afford that. I'm so glad I'm endorsed with them.
He made a more budget version. Obviously, it would have had to skip corners.
Oh yeah.
Well, not skip corners. You know, you have to swap out the woods for something a bit more obtainable and stuff like that. But yeah, he does have a more affordable model, but I would be surprised if it's far off 1,000 still.
Yeah, because
which is out of reach for most people, but yeah.
Yeah, because I think they don't really. So I'm just looking on their website now. There's not. Yeah, a lot of it is. Oh, there we go. Yeah, there's a Devin Townsend one. It doesn't tell you. Oh, there we go. Buy. Okay, let's see. This is the affordable one. €1,299. That's actually not bad. I gotta say.
No, it's definitely high end, like middle. What would you call it? It's like the higher end of like a mid tier guitar, I suppose, isn't it?
So something along those lines.
Yeah, still fairly professional, but it's not like, you know, it's far off something nowadays. You can get ridiculous stuff even from brands like Harley Benton.
Oh yeah, funnily enough, I've got a Harley Benton Explorer just around the corner here, and I did swap out the pickups, but it plays fantastic. I'm quite surprised, really.
Yeah, I've heard good things, and I've got I actually play live Harley Benton cab, and it works. Well, I play it from a Kemper, but I can use it for like the stage sound, or it can be mic'd up if it's easier to do so. But it's got the price of it was cheaper than the vintage V30s, which went in from Celestian. So the idea was just like, well, I'll buy it. If it's bad, I'll just rip out the Celestians and build my own cab for it. Yeah, it sounds great. So I've kept with it. I wouldn't maybe use it recording because usually the engineer has better cabs, but Celestians, you can't go wrong.
Exactly, and to be fair, when you're playing live, it is all about being as practical as you can be, get stuff on quickly, and so on. I'm sure you've been part of the revolution, as I like to call it, from being the kind of person who has the head and the cab, going all the way to, in your case, a Kemper. So I was going to call it a Krampus. But no, that's like a German Christmas thing. That's not right.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I'm very much into it. From I mean, I love valve heads. I used to play Mesa Triple Rectifier, and I loved it to bits. And it was a US model, so you used to have to carry around. I mean, you said you can swear on the
Yeah, that's
stream.
fine. I've sworn several times.
I had a big transformer for it, and we used to call it the bastard box because it's just like a bastard trying to carry it everywhere. It was like almost as heavy as the amp, but sound brilliant. I'd say like the maybe a bit of this, not staple as such, but Forged in Black sound is very quite tight as well. So we usually, I'd say, is more like maybe the Mesa wasn't best for that. So the Kemper, I use a 5150 sound, and our other guitarist uses a 5150 as well. But for our last album, we actually founded that I wish I knew what it's called now. Not a very expensive head, but really, really good Ironheart.
Okay.
Delaney Ironheart. We found he had it in his collection, and he'd recently just been sent it to try out, and it actually sounded a bit tighter than the 5150. Similar type of sound, but we ended up going for that, and it sounded amazing. I ended up making sure that I captured that tone before we left the studio.
Yeah, because you can copy the because you can actually copy the actual profile, can't you?
Yeah, and we did use some Kemper for the cleans, I believe, on Descent of the Serpent. For the other parts, the rest of it was all true valve, but we did use some Kemper in there, and it sounded great. I think we used some of Ramesh's. He's released his own pack, which people can check out, and if people want to listen to the sound I'm referring to, then hit us up on Spotify and have a little listen, and you'll kind of get the idea of what I'm on about in terms of the tone.
Well, the other thing that you've mentioned to me before when you've recorded at with Ramesh was you actually got to play on an Evertune guitar, well, a guitar with an Evertune bridge. Now, as you said, your silo guitar doesn't have an Evertune bridge built in. Is that right?
Yeah.
How did you find that? Like, how did you find the difference of playing an Evertune bridge to a non-Evertune bridge, so to speak?
Sorry, I'm taking my boots off because I just thought I've been sitting around in my boots for ages. Make myself a bit more comfortable.
Might as well. You're hiding.
Yeah, I am. I forget all the time. I like live in my boots pretty much. But yeah, I think if you're, I take it a lot of your listeners are probably into music and recording and things like that. I found we use a lot of like dives and squeals, sometimes in solos and things like that. So it's very much needed to have a fluid rose on the guitar. But for recording, any part that you can, using Evertune is very helpful. Say for instance, well, any of the riffs that didn't have bends in them were played on the Evertune, and then you might jump onto the second guitar, which was set up very much the same, but had I think we used my guitar. I didn't have the Solar at the time, but we played with an Evertuning Eclipse for all the rhythms, other than the bends and the things that had a bend in them. You might use we'd use my PRS Torero instead, which had EMGs as well, but you could the Evertune obviously locks, so you can't easily bend. well, you can make it so it bends, but for recording purposes, you just grab that guitar, do all the straight riffs, and then you'd go to the other guitar for speed. Yeah, if we didn't use dives, I would definitely have Evertune live. It's just so much easier. You haven't got to keep checking the tuning. And if say you're someone like the guitarist Andy, he's got very tight and quite say on my guitar anyway. When he's doing the palm mutes, the tuning might change slightly because you're probably digging in, and that's changing the bridge just slightly.
Yeah.
So having an Evertune is just a godsend, absolute godsend for recording.
I completely agree with you. When me and Luke were recording, because I essentially re-recorded my parts, recorded his parts. Luke is a far better guitarist than me, but we had to take a lot more takes for him because the guitar would go slightly his guitar would go slightly out of tune. So I was like, got to do it again. I hear slight distance from that. Then there's me probably doing just as many takes as him. I'm like, yeah, Evertune bridge. There you go. I don't have to tune. I don't have to think about that.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, and when it comes to live, the way I am is very much the less you have to go, the less complicated setup you have, and the simpler you make it, then the better. Because there's so many variables playing live of which things which could go wrong. So you want to try and alleviate that. So, say even for instance, with my Kemper, I've got it all set up in a way so I literally just plug it in, and I've got a weird, I think there might be Dutch brand micro Dissimum or something like that. It's like a weird controller, but it works with the Kemper. And literally, I just have one Ethernet cable that goes into it, which does the power and it sends and takes information. Everything's done through one cable. So it's literally just plug the head in, run the cable out, plug that into one cable into your control board, and done, ready to go.
Yeah, and it just makes it easier. As you said, you're carrying an amp, like a triple rectifier. They're heavy bastards. They're
Yeah,
they're built like brick shithouses. They're there to break your back.
Yeah, they're amazing. But say if the Kemper, say if you get 90% of the sound, say even Ramesh, he said it doesn't sound as good. It's not quite there. It's very close though. But live, you can't tell that 10% because of the environment that you're in anyway. So yeah, there's bands now that, especially when things are getting harder with Brexit and things like that, to move around, rather than having a truckload of amps and cabs, you could just go out there like I think Cradle of Filth even just use a pedal now, and a lot of their guitarists, so you literally just sling it in your guitar bag, and like bands like well, there's countless bands, but say Aborted and bands like that, they use maybe a Helix or a Kemper, and then that I think they use Kempers, but again, it's just one box as opposed to having an array of equipment,
and then
you can cut down on costs.
Exactly.
It's
Plus
hard to tour.
that and transport. I think with touring, I think the biggest issue is transport. Like me and Luke. Well, to be honest, the entire band we don't use amps. Chris uses an old ME70 and his bass. That is it. Me and Luke both use a Line 6 Helix. I have a FR cab that I just stick in front of me, done, sorted. It's minimum equipment, and it just makes it faster for you to move around, and as well, most people can't tell. Most people that listen to music can't tell the difference of the sounds in any worthwhile manner, anyhow. So it's
And
not.
there's also, sorry, you finish your point, and then I'll
That was essentially it. I was just going to ramble on them that particular point.
Yeah. So another thing I was going to say is recording. My St. Torum era, I was using. Sorry. hiccup with the loopers over
Oof.
there. I use Pod Farm still. It does the job, but it's not amazing. But now with the Kemper, we've managed to get really consistent, good sounding recordings at home. Whereas before, using my Mesa, it was a triple, so it's 150 watts, and you'd have to really crank it to get a good sound out of it. So rather than deafening the neighbours, because you know,
Got to be
as a musician,
respectful.
yeah, well, and as well, even big bands, like it's a hard industry, and we aren't all Iron Maiden where we have like our own studio, so you have to that was out of the question to ever record at home. Whereas now with the Kemper, I can dial in my tones at home, really get a good idea of how it's going to sound live, which transposes to having a better live gig, and we can record using it at bedroom levels, and really work out exactly like how we want things to sound, and get a good idea of how it's going to turn out. We also have especially with lockdown, see, you can't gig now, so we've tried to go out the box and play. We've made a cover for Christmas, say, which was a spaceman came traveling, which is on our YouTube channel. If people want to search, just
And it's on
Forged in Black,
Spotify.
obviously. That too. Thanks for correcting me there. But yeah, it's on Spotify as well. And that was all self-recorded at home with the Kemper. And if we didn't have the Kemper, then it would never have been a good enough. It would have been a lot harder to achieve that. I probably, if it was Pod Farm, I wouldn't want that released. We would have had to set up an amp at someone's house.
Oh yeah.
Whereas with the Kemper, you can do it from, yeah, you can easily do it, and it's much better.
Yeah, like amps are fantastic. Don't get me wrong. Like having an actual amp is fantastic, but for a lot of a lot of musicians, it's not feasible to run an amp like that constantly. It's as well the discussion of constantly rehearsing as well. Like there's a lot of bands that are like, oh, we need to rehearse weekly. It's great, but that's very expensive after a while.
No, definitely. It's just it's all really, it all comes down to really you have to choose tools which are best suited to your needs. So my housemate has a dual rectifier as well, but I've said to him recently about maybe getting something else, because it's again the same thing. It's like you've got an amazing amp. He doesn't really play live anymore, and he turns out all this music, but he never gets good guitar tone because he's stuck with this Mesa, and he's using Pod Farm. So it's like, just accept your losses, get rid of the Mesa, get yourself something that you can plug in. Maybe like a something with a red box built in or something like that.
That or even a VST, even like a
Yeah,
VST plugin like Helix Native as an example, or Neural DSP, and so on and so
yeah.
forth.
Or you've got like there's the new plugins from Gojira, which
Yeah,
sound awesome. So yeah, there's so many options, and I think it's a case of letting go of that. Oh, have it nice. As guitarists, we often like to have an impressive looking setup, and it's like you kind of you nerd out over it, and you're like, oh yeah, like it's so cool to have this equipment, but really it boils down to, it might not look as cool, but you've got to kind of bite the bullet and be like, oh, what's actually going to get you the better results?
exactly. Especially if you're playing live as well, you need to be practical. End of the day, it's all about being practical. I mean, unless you're like Korn or Evanescence or something, you can get away with things. But even then, they cut costs to some degree. Funny thing is, I own one guitar pedal in all this time, and it became redundant within a month of me having it, and that is a Digitech drop tune pedal, because
Oh,
Luke
okay, yeah.
because Luke actually, because we play in B standard 7-string tuning, Luke will play in that tuning, but he uses a 6 string. You can't tell the difference, to be honest. If anything, as long as you're within 5 semitones, you're good. Anything past that starts sounding a bit muddy and weird. So because I started doing Rocksmith and it always requires you to do different tunings and so on, I was like, okay, I'll get this because I might be able to use it for other things. Got it, bought it, and then literally a month after, Line 6, like, oh, by the way, guess what's coming on the next update? The drop tune pedal. I'm like, oh, okay then. Because they were really hard to get at the time as well. So I'm like, okay then. So got it, put it in, so it can't be as good. So I'm like, oh, it's actually better. It's better than the actual
really?
stand. It's actually surprisingly good. I've
Well,
down
I was
tuned
just
my.
going to say the drop tune pedal. I know the one you're on about. It's a few years old now. It's amazing, but I suppose where you said things have come on so far now,
Yeah,
I'm not too surprised.
yeah, because I actually run my 7 string as an 8 string sometimes. It sounds fine.
Okay.
It sounds perfectly fine. It's not muddy or anything of the sort. Essentially, it has more options, and you can it essentially EQs it so you don't create that extra muddiness.
Oh,
But it
okay.
still sounds like an
We had,
authentic 8 string, which is like, fuck.
we did actually have from a previous guitarist who's in a band called Tim. He used to play a 7 string and Forged in Black. So he had 1/6, 1/7, and he worked really well. But now, yeah, we kind of had a discussion about him and the old guitarist, and we thought, well, it's easier to play obviously a 6, and we both had 6s. But what we'll do now is we just write for 6 string. But if it is whenever we try something, we will do often is we'll do I can't remember the name of the chord now. But say if you're doing on the A string 5 and 3, you'll bar up to the 5 on the low string as well, and it kind of gives this impression of it's as some people think we're a 7 string band still because we're playing. We included that drone note when we can.
Cool.
Just creates like an impression.
Which is really awesome. Again, like, heaviness doesn't come down to tuning, it comes down to the tone that you use. I mean, look at a band like Rammstein. One of their heaviest songs is in drop D, which is like, oh wow, okay. And then you
Yeah,
get
like
to,
another band. Sorry, just to go off your point. Sorry to interrupt. Decapitation.
yeah.
I was amazed when I found out they're in E flat. I think. And it's like, really? they're probably one of the most brutal bands out there.
I was actually listening to them
Because
just
of
before the
times.
interview as well.
Okay, yeah, the new album's great.
It's fantastic.
Death Atlas.
It crushes. It crushes so damn hard.
Yeah, so it is awesome.
There's, yeah, that happens every now and again. But yeah.
Just around a bit of silence, come to
Yeah.
the end of a point. And, what's going on now?
What happens? It's not as uncomfortable as some of the interviews where my hand would just feed back to me, and then I'm like, I don't know if he understood what I said. This is not great. So because I know Andy plays Explorers, which is quite funny. Because I had this discussion with him when he was doing my arm. That was last year already. God, maybe I should stop blinking. Maybe time will go slower. But yeah, we were just actually no. There was a point I was going to mention earlier because we were talking about Kempers and things. It's so. Have you ever found yourself in the trap of tone chasing, where like you're constantly fiddling about with your tone all the time? You're like, I should be writing something. Like, shit, I've just spent 4 hours working on guitar tones.
To a degree, but I when I started finding my Kemper tone, there was already I already had quite a good idea of the staple of what is a forged in black tone. So I actually get a bit sick of going through the Kemper options. There's so many, and often the names of them aren't great. So you're just cycling through, trying to work out, and eventually I've just I've shortlisted some that I like, but I kind of I'm actually surprisingly less of a tone chaser than I thought I would be. I've kind of now just stick to what I've got. I've got my Forged in Black live settings, and I tend to stick to them.
Yeah, I'm too picky. I'm definitely down that hole. I did have a phase last year where I would constantly change my impulse responses. But
Okay.
then I found like the perfect set. I was like, I'm not moving that. This is awesome. I'm not touching it. Because it's a set by Bogren. I forgot his full name, but he does. He's produced bands like Behemoth, Baby
Okay.
Metal, and so on. Because he did like he did like an IR pack. I was like, okay, I'll get that. Went through like all these different ones. Went through one of the templates. Like, actually, I like the modern template a lot. I'm gonna chuck that on. And since then, I've been very much on the fence between the 5150 and the dual rectifier. What is it? Nah, dual rectifier.
You should try the new. I can't remember what it's called now. There's a new Mesa Boogie amp out. Sounds amazing, really good. I also really like partially because I like Ola England, but I've used a lot of the Satan
Oh
uh,
yeah,
recently for the new Forged in Black demos, and it sounds awesome. I really like it. It's almost like it's got a little bit of that kind of. It's almost like a mix of it's tight like the 5150, but it has that kind of gnarly, deep throated chug from like a Mesa Boogie. I do like it a lot.
and yes, it does chug.
It
Sorry,
does.
I had to throw something like that in. I just had to. But
Does it chug? Yeah,
yeah, because
that it does.
I do definitely like a lot of his reviews and things. I do need to watch a few bits again. I used to watch Sunday with Ola religiously at the beginning of lockdown for like the first few weeks, and it was like it was almost like you remember when you were like a kid and you had like Saturday morning cartoons. It's kind of like that for me. Like I'd get up, I'm like, oh, new Sunday with Ola is on. I'm just having breakfast. I'm like, yeah, it's great, it's fantastic. Yeah, it's like watching Power Rangers on a Saturday morning when you're a kid. But I'm an adult and
Well,
I'm watching him
yeah.
do like music stuff instead.
Well, you're always trying to find things to watch during lockdown because obviously there's not really much to do these days. You can't go out to gigs or play them, or very limited. So I started off watching a lot of things on Netflix, and then now I watch a lot mostly YouTube just because I find that I've seen everything I want to see, and
Yeah,
I feel like some of these streaming services, the amount of they have so much options, but most of it's like bottom of the pile, really crap films. Like you go through all the horror films and you're looking up on Rotten Tomatoes, and all of them are like 30%. So it's almost like going into a DVD shop and like Netflix is like the bargain bin of the internet, where you're just finding all these old rubbish films. And the same with Amazon. Any of the good films I ever find on there are usually like you have to pay extra for.
yeah, that yeah, that does bother me a bit. But to be, I will admit I've had the exact same thing. I'd go through Amazon, Netflix, and so on. You know, it's like I've
Not
run out of things. I've run out of things to watch. What do I do? Oh, YouTube exists. Okay. Uh, okay, I'll watch this really mundane
and then you go
10-minute
down
video.
and then you go down the rabbit hole, and before you know it, you're on this weird part of YouTube, and you're like, "What am I watching?"
I've
um, yeah,
I've not gone quite on the weird part there yet. It's more I've gone more into the weird rabbit hole in Twitter by accident. Because I think I liked someone's post about Sonic the Hedgehog, and now I'm like 6 feet under the Sonic Twitter, and it gets weird. It gets really weird. There's
I
like
don't. Yeah, I've always struggled with Twitter. I don't really understand it. We have a Twitter, but yeah, I don't really use it myself.
Yeah, to be honest, I've used it primarily because of Twitch and the podcast and so. And to be honest, it is one of the better places to try and find things. You just need to kind of dig for it and use the right keywords, I find.
Mm.
So I don't think in the UK we really use Twitter that much. I think it's more of an American thing.
I think it's for me, I've always never really understood the limitation of what you can say. Like you have to do it within a certain amount of words and all this. And every time I've tried it, it doesn't really make sense to me. But then I'm not. I do. I find social media a bit weird. Other than the band, obviously, it's a great tool for getting yourselves out there, and it's very much fundamental that you have it. But other than sharing musical projects and things like that, I don't really post anything else.
Yeah, yeah. To be honest, it's more of a promotional tool for me. I don't spend a lot of time on it. I might spend like a good half an hour maybe on it, and then I become bored. What else can I do?
Mm. Yeah, no, exactly.
But yeah, with that, oh wow, we're already 1 hour and 20 minutes in. Should we? Is there anything that you want to promote still before we start calling it a day?
Um, well, obviously, I suppose. I mean, at the moment, obviously, with lockdown, there is, I suppose, the limitation on what you can kind of do. But I suppose just keep an eye on all our. If anyone wants to follow us on social media, or even obviously we're on Spotify. If you want to listen to our newest album, which is Descent of Serpent, which is already out and doing very well, signed with Fighter Records. So you can check that out on Spotify. If you like it, you want to buy a shirt or you want to support the band in any way, or listen, buy a CD, then we've got a big cartel and all that kind of thing. It's all pretty much, you can find it all on our website, forgedinblack.com. So yeah, I suppose mostly just keep an eye out. We are getting ready at the moment. We're more in the writing phases and getting ready to record this year for our next release. But in the meantime, we have got some things planned to release musically, just in the interim, to try and keep things interesting. Most recent one is we did a lockdown playthrough of our song called One in the Chamber, which is on YouTube as well. So if anyone wants to, you can check us out there.
All right, awesome. And yeah, thank you so much for coming onto the podcast, Chris. Seriously appreciate it. Remember, guys, check out the band on Spotify, Big Cartel, and everywhere else in the world that you can possibly find music. You'll find them there.
Yeah.
And yeah,
keep a
lookout for the newest releases. Check out their videos, like their stuff, so on and so forth. Support the artist. So it has been the Mesmerise podcast with Chris Bone of Forged in Black. And thank you.
Yeah, hello. Thank you very much for having me as well. It's been a lot of fun.
Sweet, and I bid you all a good night.